Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome to a couple of really good races I had on Gran Turismo Sport recently. This is the FIA round, Group 3, Maggiore. You have to use all three tyres, soft, medium and hard. This is my first attempt at the race, okay? We're going to cover this one very quickly. Started in 8th, immediately up into 7th on lap 1, starting on the medium tyre. 1 lap later, going for another move here, and moving up into 6th, but then making this crucial mistake, losing perhaps a couple of seconds and dropping back into 7th. A couple of laps later, the Ford goes into the pit lane. A couple of laps later, up the inside of this BMW. And end of that lap, into the pit lane to swap over to the hard tyre. On the exit, we have this battle with this Lancer Evo. Goes a little bit wide, carries a bit too much speed, loses momentum. And we're back up into 7th. So now onto the hard tyre stint, and thankfully the guys behind started fighting a fair amount, so I was just able to just run slightly clear of them at this point of the race. End of lap 8, or midway through lap 8, get overtaken by BMW, into the pit lane to swap over to the soft tyre for the final stint of the race and try to bring this race home with a decent result. And there's a yellow flag here. Oh, the Ford having a big incident on the final corner. Move up a position, and then this guy just moves out of the way into the pit lane at the crucial time, which is fantastic for me. No time lost trying to overtake him. By the end of lap 13, beginning of lap 14, sitting in 5th and in a fairly comfortable position. Guy behind about 2 seconds behind, and we managed to keep that gap at about 2 seconds to the end of the race, where we finish in 5th. So that was a very fast look at that race. It wasn't too bad of a race. Started 8th, finished 5th. We moved forward and we earned 258 points for that. But I knew that I could go better. I knew that that race, as good as it was a decent performance. I knew I could do better, especially because of qualifying. Starting 8th on the grid is always going to be very difficult to win a race from 8th. So I'm going to attempt to have a better qualifying here. So this is my qualifying lap. Let's take a look at it. I'm not quite in the slipstream range of the Ferrari in front, but let's try and make a good start to the lap, and then we should be able to move into the slipstream towards the latter stages of the lap. So coming through turn 1, the very fast sweeping uphill right-hander. This is Maggiore Grand Prix circuit reverse. And it's a very technical circuit, this one. It's actually quite tricky to get dead right. It's quite a long lap, lots of different types of corner, and throughout the course of the manufacturer season, you're trying to work out which tracks your car is good at, and I think this is one of them. I think this car does, the BMW here, the M6, does like this circuit. It goes fairly well around here. Into the big banky boy, coming down into second gear. Because of the banking, it does hook you round. You get on the power quite early through there, and I think we are just within the slipstream range, right on the edge of it anyway. So perhaps just outside of it actually now, I think. But into this fast sweeping section here, down the hill, over the curb. And then this bit requires some bravery and some precision. I'm going to run 4 wheels on the curb there, pretty much. And then coming down the hill towards this quite a tricky long left-hander with a curved braking zone. Quite tricky to get to dead right. And this is the thing you don't want in a qualifying lap, to catch up with traffic. I haven't really caught the Ferrari, but I have caught the Supra, and thankfully it gives me a free slipstream down this back straight. Then he backs out. That was a very crucial moment in this whole qualifying session, because it means I'm not going to be stuck behind him through this last couple of corners. And we are definitely gaining on the Ferrari now, I would say. So that was a good little sequence of corners. Up in towards the penultimate turn, very tight left-hand hairpin. And then that leads out onto the final 90-degree right-hander and the end of the lap. So I've definitely caught the Ferrari, actually, really caught him in that final sector. And that is going to put us on provisional pole position, just a 10th ahead of Flash Dagger, who's just behind us on circuit. And that was a very good time. It was quicker than our previous attempt in the first race, which put us in 8th. On the second lap here, I did just catch up to the back of the Ferrari, and then I think I was getting slightly held up through this final sequence of corners. It seems as though this BMW was quicker through that final section of the track. And as we crossed the line, it wasn't an improvement. It was about half a second slower. So I'm just going to hope that other people don't improve on their second laps. And thankfully, well, someone did. 2 people did, but it wasn't by enough. Look how close that is, though. 4 of us within a tenth of a second. But it was going to be a pole position. So, really happy with that result. I don't normally get too many pole positions. So, please do jot down where you are in the world right now while you're watching this on this momentous occasion. With Super GT on pole. How about that? And we have a fellow BMW in second, 0.007 behind. So let's say if that Supra had held me up on that final sector, you know, it would have been completely different. I probably would have been 4th or worse. So the little things really do matter on your qualifying lap, especially in FIA races. So here we go then, 15 laps of Maggiore, and we're going to begin the race on the medium tyre. You could go, normally you could go onto the soft at the beginning of the race if you're towards the front of the pack, but I felt as though the soft tyres in this game really work very well when the fuel is low. So ideally you want to use it towards the end of the race and really maximise the speed and the potential of that soft tyre. So we're going to go for the mediums for now, then onto the hard, and then onto the soft. I mean, that's our strategy in our mind as it stands, but you just never know. And over the course of this race, it's a kind of a demonstration of how it can be very difficult to lead a race. It might sound really weird that to lead a race, why is that difficult? But in many ways you can't quite gauge the race when you're when everyone's behind you. Sometimes when you're mid-pack or towards the front, but a couple of people in front, you can kind of gauge where people are at, and you get a better barometer of everyone's speed and how the race should go. But sometimes when you're at the front, it can be quite tricky to gauge everything. So we'll see how this one develops. At the moment, our main thing is really just have a nice solid first lap. Let's see if anyone's on the soft tyre, and it looks as though everyone's on mediums because no one's really coming at me at this point in time. So it looks like the guy in second also chose the medium tyre. Can't really be 100% sure, but given the speed, given how close we were in qualifying and the fact that we were pretty close here in this first lap, looks like he's also on the medium tyre. So that's the end of the first lap. It's a successful first lap. And I think all you need to do is just not panic. Don't do anything too stupid. Just have a nice solid lap and just be nice and consistent. And that's exactly what we've done there. The BMW M6, I think, is a really good car in Group 3. Obviously, it doesn't work everywhere, and I don't think it particularly stands out at a lot of tracks, but it's a fairly decent all-rounder. Kind of works at a lot of places, and this certainly seems to be one of those places. So, just winding through the first sector, heading towards this fast-sweeping downhill chicane, and approaching the big banky boy. Good overtaking opportunity. The guy behind not quite close enough, as you can see, so we're not going to be worried about that. Just taking the normal racing line. Lots of things to manage here. Fuel we don't have to manage, but our tyres, yes, you can drive the car quite hard, but at the same time you do want to preserve your tyres. I think the tyre wear multiplier was 7 for this race, which is quite high tyre wear, so you do want to protect your tyres. You don't want to drive too hard and suffer later on. So coming up towards this double left down the hill here, I'm always wary of this corner. It's a very good overtaking opportunity, and therefore just going to always take a look on the radar to see where the car behind is. It wasn't close enough on that occasion, but he is hanging in there in the slipstream, and in turn he has Flash Dagger just behind him in third in the Corvette. So that's always a good thing. If you're trying to defend against someone, you know, it's good that he's also got someone else behind him preoccupying his mind. So up the inside, actually, Flash Dagger goes flying the inside. You might have just seen that yellow flash going across the screen. I think he braked a little bit too late there, went way too deep into the corner, and actually ends up going down into 4th position, and turns out to be 5th position by this point in time. So this is lap 3 now. Tyres just beginning to go off slightly, Not completely, just a little bit. You see just how close he is there. I'm going to take a slightly narrower line into this one. That's a conscious decision to try and keep that guy behind. But then we do have another long straight here into another good overtaking place. So I am going to move to the left. It looked like he didn't really move left early there, so it looked like he was probably cooperating at this point in time. He didn't really want to actually overtake. I think it looks as though, based off this first sort of 3 laps, he's fairly comfortable, sat in second place there. So that perhaps suggests my pace wasn't too bad. He's okay with just being sat there in second and not really fighting too much. And at the end of lap number 3 then, it looks like the landscape behind is just changing slightly. So we've got Prima Ozil in third, just catching up. And we've got Johnny Thilmont in fourth. A little bit behind, but still within a good position. In fact, by this point now, the BMW is going to got the inside. And he doesn't really fully commit to this. I was quite surprised. Now I'm able to keep it around the outside. This gives me the inside for the following corner. And I was kind of surprised that he didn't really commit fully to that move. He could have easily have just gone in a little bit faster and got past, but he just didn't really do it. So we're going to keep the lead. Now, one thing I'm trying to consider is the different strategies of the drivers behind. So we are going to get to a point where we're going to have to go for the first pit stop. And because I'm behind, I'm trying to gauge the speed of everyone, and it looks like the guy in fourth is actually very quick. And at this point, I'm trying to work out, is he on soft tyres? I'm not quite sure. Here, the BMW does go up the inside. We're going to try and cut back on the exit. Not quite going to work, so we're just going to bump him. I'm okay being sat behind, but I just got to make sure that we just don't lose too much time. So the BMW goes up the inside. We're in second now. That's fine. We can just try and sit here in the slipstream. And the crucial thing now for the next lap is just to make sure he does not get away. As long as I'm just behind him, that's fine. It doesn't really matter too much. So we're going to just try and stick as close as possible. I think the main person to be wary of at this point in time is the guy in fourth in the Porsche. As you can see, he's now joined the back of this pack. And he started about 7th or 8th. And I said earlier that it would be difficult to win a race from that far back, but he looks like he's got some solid pace in that Porsche. So it does make me wonder if he's on the soft tyre, although I think by now the soft tyre would begin to go off completely. So that tyre can only really do about 5 or 6 laps at best. So just trying to keep into the slipstream range. Onto the grass we both go on the exit there, down the hill, onto the grass there, but you do want to do that anyway. Slightly cut the corner and then into the big banky boy, looking for that yellow tarmac on the right, just breaking on the end of it, and then we see ourselves through that corner quite nicely. Quite a long straight here, so we can just tuck into the slipstream. The Porsche now just beginning to show its good speed as he slowly made his way up the order onto the back of the front group. That might not seem like a lot, but I think we've raced fairly well so far. So for someone to catch up from 6th or 7th on the grid, that's some good going. So certainly something to note. Again, just arriving slightly wide there on the exit, but it's okay. We're still in the slipstream range, just 4 tenths behind. Go slightly narrow here to cover off from the Citroen, which I think was fairly close. It was within the radar, so we could just see him there. I'm going to switch our brake bias fully to the back, as I notice my front tyre is just really beginning to go off here. So for the next stints, the front tyres should be a little bit better, at least. So end of lap 6 now. We're just wondering when the first person is going to go into the pit lane. And I feel as though these tyres are just about okay. I could do one more lap. So I'm going to stay out, I know that. So let's see what this guy in front does. Is he going to peel over to the right? Yes, he is, with a big oversteer moment. But he goes in. He was on the medium. And now we have a BMW Citroen Porsche battle for the lead of the race. But the main thing here, yes, okay, we are racing these two guys immediately behind us, but we are still racing that BMW. So this lap needs to be a quick one. We need to make sure we don't lose too much time here. So, actually, Ozil there making a big mistake and crashing out. I don't know if you just quickly saw that in the back of shot. So we don't have to worry about the Citroen anymore, but we do have the Porsche for very close company And that 911 is typically, in my experience, very good on its tyres. So that's perhaps why it's doing so well later on into the stint. The further the stint goes on, I'm burning through my tyres, but he's actually got some decent tyres still underneath him. And he's going to go up the inside here, into the double left, and take the lead of the race. Now you might wonder, why didn't I fight that too much? The main reason is because we're still racing that BMW. The blue BMW went into the pit lane at the start of this lap. I didn't really mean to go for that move there. I'm just going to try and stick behind. So if I defend too much from this guy and lose a lot of time, then I'm going to lose loads of time to the BMW. So this is the difficulty with leading a race when people go for two sort of different strategies. It's hard to cover off both of those strategies. So he's going to continue. No, he's not. He's going to go into the pit lane as well. He was on the medium tyre, as it shows top left. So I was actually quite surprised by that. But then again, it does make sense. He was very quick over the whole course of that stint. So we're going to change over to the hard tyre. Let's see what he goes on to. As there goes the BMW. So you can see we've lost maybe... Well, we're 2 seconds behind now. We lost 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. So if I'd started fighting even more with the Porsche, we would be even further behind. So I might be ahead of the Porsche, but then I'll be way further back away from the BMW. So it's one of those things you have to really pick your fights, and that's one of the difficulties with leading sometimes. That people can go for different strategies, and you can't cover off both of them. So we're going to go for this strategy of minimal time loss, which I think is often the best strategy. If someone's faster, just don't really fight them too much. Let them go through, play the long game, and try to be there or thereabouts at the end of the race. Just give yourself a chance. So it looked as though the Porsche was on the soft tyre. He really was very quick on this lap. And he goes into the lead of the race. And the main thing for us now is just to try to catch up this gap against the BMW. We're not going to catch up with the Porsche. He's on soft tyres. It's not going to happen. We're going to have to wait until he goes on the hard. And then we're on the softs at the end of the race. And by this point here, you can see the gap comes down to about a second or less than a second now. So he's got 1 lap older tyres. So I should be slightly quicker. I should be, anyway. And he makes a couple of mistakes there. The gap comes down to within slipstream range. It just drives slightly wide again. And slowly but surely over the course of this stint, we do just manage to reel him in. And by this point here, firmly within the slipstream range, 7/10 behind. So this is not too bad. The leader in the Porsche now 4 seconds ahead. And looking very comfortable out there out front. But we still have our best stint left to go, which is the soft tyres on low fuel, which is always really fun to do. Now into the penultimate corner, we're just going to see if he goes in. He went in 1 lap earlier than us at the end of the first stint. Is he going to go again? Yes, he is. Okay. So he did have the hard tyre. He's going to go 1 lap early. Now this is where he could get a very big undercut, because I'm currently on the hard tyre. He's going to come out on fresh soft tyres, and he could gain quite a lot of time because of that. Now the downside of that, of course, is that I did 6 laps on the soft tyre in the first race, and I felt like by the last lap they were really dead. So I didn't want to do 6 laps on softs again. I wanted to do 5, and that's why you should learn from your first race. That's often why, unless you're going to do loads of practice races before FIA, your first race is going to be pretty much just a practice race, just to work out what the best strategy is. So we're going to be paying attention to that. So we're going to pit at the end of this lap, go onto the soft tyre, and then it's there to the end, basically. So through the penultimate turn, we do have someone gaining on us here, but it doesn't matter. We're going to go into the pit lane here, move to the right-hand side, and then get the fastest tyre, the soft tyre. This is always the fun part of the race. The fastest tyre on the lightest fuel. So you can see the blue BMW maybe 3 seconds ahead there, I would say. And that's just really a result of 1 lap differential between the hard and the soft tyre. So now we've got a lot of work to do in the final 5 laps to try to reel that gap in. And it looks like that strategy has worked really well. It just shows you how powerful the undercut can be when you go in 1 lap earlier for new tyres. He is going to struggle towards the end of the race though. So that is the thing we have. We have one lap fresher tyres for the rest of the race compared to him. So we should be a few tenths faster every lap. And that gap should get bigger and bigger with every lap that goes on. Into the big banky boy. See, the car just really grips up nicely into there with the fresh tyres. And then the BMW in front makes a big mistake. We are trying to be the top BMW, of course. We're trying to be the top car, full stop, in the race. But being the best BMW is always a nice little bonus as well. So we're going to try and aim for that. So we've got past one there. But of course we have the blue one to catch up with. He's 3.2 seconds ahead at this point in time. And we only have 4.5 laps remaining to try to catch that up. So we do need to be maybe half a second, 3/4 of a second faster every lap, which is quite a lot. And I'd say this probably wasn't the optimum strategy, but I've done it now, so I can't really change it. Can't go back in time unless anyone's got a time machine. Please do leave a comment below if you do have a time machine. So, end of lap number 12. We are gaining. You see that. You can visually see it. I don't know what the exact gap is because we have this Mercedes in front who is about 9/10 of a second in front. Let's see if he's going to go around for another lap. He isn't. Okay, so this is potential traffic. This could go one of two ways. You could lose a lot of time getting stuck behind this car. It's clear that we're faster than this Mercedes, but it depends at which point of the track I catch them, and it looks like we're going to catch them quite soon. Ideally, you want to catch them on the straight and then get free slipstream, but I don't think that's going to be the case here. So we're already onto the back of them. I don't know what tyres they're on. We're going to have to be quite aggressive here, and we're going to go for a nice little cut back on the way out and get this move done here. This isn't a normal overtaking place really, but in the pursuit of this blue BMW, I kind of just had to be aggressive. I just had to go for the move. There's no time to be waiting around. I have to just get on with it very quickly. So we get the job done. The gap is 2.1 seconds, or about 2.0. Actually drops below 2. Drops below 2 seconds for the first time. And by this point here, this is midway through lap 14, so we only have 1.5 laps left to go. And he's just beginning to run wide and make a couple of mistakes. He was doing this earlier in the race, perhaps under a little bit of pressure, because he knew that I was catching. And the gap now, 1.1. He makes another big mistake there. And the gap drops down immediately to 0.8, 0.7, and then I'm in the slipstream. So we have 1 lap left to go to try to recover this position. Let's not forget as well that the Belgian in the lead, who's just gone into the pit lane, is going to come into the picture as well, who has to go onto the hard tyre. So with 1 lap left to go, I'm in third, but let's see how this develops with not much time in the race remaining. Across the line we go to begin lap 15 of 15. Let's have a look ahead. Where is the Porsche? There he is, just coming out onto the track. 2 seconds ahead. He's on the hard tyre. Is that too much to gain? BMW goes very wide. We're going to nip up the inside here through the long right of turn 2 and then just sweep in ahead and take second place. Have we got enough time left to gain on the leader? We are on worn softs. He's on fresh hard tyres. I'm not sure the dynamic there, which tyre should be quicker at this point of the race. But let's see as we sweep downhill. He's got a 2-second gap on us at this point in time. And to be fair to that Porsche driver, driven really well in this race. And I suppose the question is, could I have defended against the Porsche to slow him down a bit more? Especially on lap 7 when he came through. It's like, yes, I could have done that. But then I would be a lot further behind the BMW. So it's a really hard race to gauge and to judge. I mean, the ultimate answer would just be quicker. Just be faster, I guess. And that is always the answer in motorsport, just be a bit quicker. But I wasn't quicker, and unfortunately it was a very tricky race to manage. But here we are in second, going to go very defensive here. I've written off the chance of a win, I think, at this point. There's not enough time left to catch up. So I'm just going to have to go very defensive for the remainder of the race. Coming up the hill towards the final sector, he's going to go towards the inside. I'm just going to cover it off. By this point in time, you might as well just defend every corner, because I've written off the chance of winning. He's very close behind. Just a couple of corners remaining. I'm going to dive in narrow here into this one and just keep the inside. There's no way around the outside there. And we're going to come through the final corner. It's going to be a win for the Porsche. Very, very good drive from them. And we're going to come through in second. And even though we lost a position from where we started, I think overall it was a very pleasing race. And I think it was a good performance. And it was good fun, actually. And it just shows you the difficulty, perhaps, of leading a race. But ultimately, it was good fun. We got 275 points, so I suppose it was the right decision to go again and try to improve our score compared to the 256 points we got in the first race. But there you go, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Get yourself subscribed if you did enjoy that one. And I'll catch you all next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.